Hey guys, Capital Cosm here. Before we start this video, I just want to let you know that I believe that we are on the cusp of a major uranium bull market. Now, these things don't happen every other week. The last uranium bull market peaked in 2007, the one before that in 1978. So when these things happen, you've got to take advantage of it. And how explosive are they? Well, you've all heard the stories. Uranium skyrocketing from $10 to $20, all the way up to $150 in these uranium bull markets. Where will it go this time around? Well, we don't know. We'll see. But you've got to take advantage of the opportunity. What better way to do that than to leverage Justin Hune's Uranium Insider newsletter? You get access to his monthly newsletters, his webinars, his stock picks, his portfolio, all of that stuff. You get access to guests that you may not see on YouTube. You get access to having them ask questions that you may not see anywhere else. So I highly recommend, if you're going to take part in this uranium bull market, you check out Uranium Insider. Link is down in the description box below. Be sure to click the link. There's quarterly plans, there's annual plans. So if you're kind of tepid, you're kind of hesitant, you could always go with the quarterly plan. Kind of test things out, sample things out, see if you like it or not. But the way I see it, guys, you've got to pick the right stocks. A lot of these uranium companies are not going to make it to the other side. Now, and Justin Hune's uranium portfolio has outperformed the likes of URA by a significant margin. Since 2019, it's up 5x from where it started. So click the link down below and we'll get started right now on the video. Thanks, guys. What are some of the most valuable lessons that you've picked up over the years that you want to impart to the audience?
Well, everybody should learn to only invest in what you yourself know a lot about. Don't listen to other people. Don't listen to hot tips. I mean, everybody watching this, Danny, knows a lot about something. Fashion, sports, cars, something. And that's where you should focus. If I told you you only had 25 investments in your lifetime, you would be careful. You wouldn't jump in and out. Every time you heard a hot story, you wouldn't invest. You would be very careful and you would be successful. I know everybody thinks this is easy. It's never been easy for me. So please focus, concentrate, be disciplined, and wait until you find a good opportunity yourself.
Yeah. So focus on what you know most. Really hone in on that.
People will say, "Oh, that's boring." Be boring, Danny. Mm-hmm. If you want to be a successful investor, be boring.
Yeah, I mean, there's actually a study done on this where they actually compared like multiple portfolios from like hedge funds and like using different strategies, and each one was beat by just like holding something for 50 years straight out. And
everybody has to find their own way. I once knew a guy who was a brilliant short-term trader. He only traded about 50 stocks. He didn't know most of the hot names, new names, but he knew every tick in General Motors. Mm-hmm. He knew every tick in some of the big companies, U.S. Steel, things like that. But he didn't know much about, he didn't even know much about U.S. Steel, but he knew every tick in the stock and he was brilliant at it.
Yeah. And when you know something to that depth, you're able to allocate more capital to it. The reason why people diversify, so they have like a 1% allocation here, another 1% allocation there, that's just a hedge against the uncertainty, the mystery of what you're investing in. But if you actually have the conviction through putting in the work, then you might be able to allocate more capital in one or two or three or just a small handful of assets, right?
Diversification is not going to make you rich. Diversification is something that brokers came up with to protect themselves, so they won't sue you. And if they sue you, they won't win because you're diversified. If you want to get rich, you focus. You put all of your eggs in one basket. You better be sure it's the right basket, and you better watch that basket very, very closely. But that's how you get rich. Henry Ford didn't diversify. Thomas Watson didn't diversify. These guys put all their eggs in the right basket and got very rich. You don't hear about all the guys who put their eggs in the wrong basket, but that's why it's not easy.
Yeah. So by basket, do you mean like one stock or like a sector or what?
Both. I mean, either or. Henry Ford put all his eggs in the Ford Motor Company basket.
Hmm.
Got very rich. His wife, by the way, preferred electric cars. Henry Ford was doing gasoline cars. So everybody has to do it their own way.
Is there like
I
a
wish I were rich as Henry Ford, but I'm not, but I'm hopefully can still pay my bills.
is there like a success story that you could share with us from your personal experience?
Well, I learn more from my mistakes than I do from my experience, my successes. The problem with success is you think you know what you're doing, you think you're smart, you get cocky, you get arrogant. So I learn more from my mistakes than I do from my successes. I
Got
wish
it.
it were easy. We all see the guy on the front page of the newspaper and say, oh my gosh, I could do that. I could buy Apple. Well, if it was so easy, we all would have bought Apple and we would all be as rich as Apple. So it's not easy. I wish it were. But the only success is to stay with what my success has been to stay with what I know. When I tried to do what somebody else was telling me to do, I usually made a mistake.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like the pessimist always sees failure in success, what could go wrong, what can go wrong, but the optimist sees what he can learn from his mistakes. And
Well, I've certainly made a lot of mistakes, and I've learned. You want to hear about my first wife? Oh my
go
God,
on.
what a mistake that what a
Floor is
horrible
yours.
mistake that was.
Well, hey Jim, what have you been up to lately? I know you're out in Singapore. You know, are you just kind of retired, or do you have any projects that you're excited about, or what have you been up to?
Uh, I have always been an investor because I have to pay my bills. So I'm always on the lookout, the nature of who I am. If I walk down the streets, I try to watch to see if something's happening that might be interesting, that could be a change that would lead to an investment. That's just the nature of my history and my life. Doesn't always work, and I don't always see something, but I hope that I'm always on the lookout in case I see something changing that can lead to an investment. I don't always, and sometimes I make mistakes, but that essentially is, I have never stopped doing that.
Mm-hmm. Is like so investment as opposed to speculation, or do you not differentiate between the two?
No, no, no. I hope I know the difference. I know I'm not a good short-term trader. I don't think I'm a good speculator. So I try to find
Hmm.
things that are cheap where there's positive change. And it's for me, it's better to find a positive change that will perhaps go on for a long time, for years. That's the best kind of change to find. Not that easy, it doesn't happen often, but when it happens, if you are alert, you might have a great success.
Understood. Understood. Well, I don't want to keep you, here for long, but I appreciate you coming on the show. I'm sure the audience does as well. Anything you want to leave the audience with before we sign off?
Well, Danny, we've had the longest period of American history without a big problem. So I would urge everybody to be worried, be extremely worried, and become knowledgeable, because if you are knowledgeable, you will probably survive whatever happens. If you listen to somebody else and it goes up, you don't know what to do. If it goes down, you don't know what to do. But if you're knowledgeable and you know what you're doing, then you will survive and you will probably be very successful. So please try to educate yourself as much as you can and make investments accordingly. This is not easy, no matter what it looks like.
Any countries or regions do you think that'll get hit harder or less than others?
Most markets around the world are near all-time highs or have been going up for a long time. So usually the ones that have been up the most, and especially the hot stocks in those markets, in the US, we have the Magnificent Seven or whatever they're called, they go up every day. Usually when there's a bear market, those will go down the most. So be very worried about buying the hot stocks. Most markets have been making highs. I mean, China's down. We mentioned Japan before. Uzbekistan is I hope Uzbekistan is cheap. I've been buying there, but there are not many stock markets. Property is a bubble in many places. Bonds are certainly a bubble in most of the world. So try to find things that are cheap and do your research. And if you know what you're doing, maybe you'll be successful.